good enough. They're ruining everything, trying to decide what they want.
And here we are, a big mess.
Kaitlyn Bristowe is not liking the treatment of Gabby and Rachel on this season of The Bachelorette. Hey everyone, welcome back to Shared News. Kaitlyn has some strong opinions on this season of The Bachelorette with Gabby and Rachel, but before we get into it, if you are new here, make sure you subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any Bachelor Nation updates. As always, I'm your host, Morgan Wright, and today I am joined by Allison Van Dam and Blakely McHugh. Let's just jump right into it because Kaitlyn has some very strong opinions and I'm ready to get what you guys think about it. She live tweeted during this episode on July 18th that she hates this. I made it PG for our Shared News viewers, but she says, am I being dramatic? I cannot believe they are doing this to these women and to the men, #TheBachelorette. Now, in this short little tweet, I feel like there's so much to unpack, but I want to start with, obviously, you guys know that she has her own experiences in, being a part of a dual Bachelorette situation. So first, do you think that she has a point in her stance, or do you think she may be projecting what she went through? Allison, why don't you start?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be a combination of both, but I do see what she's saying. When you're the lead, you are supposed to have, all of these people, all these men vying for your attention, there for you. So it adds in this element of feeling like you somehow need to prove something to them despite being the lead. And I would love to know the exact timing of, where she was in the episode when she tweeted this. I could assume maybe it was during that after party after the Speedo pageant date when Rachel was really excited to talk to Jason. Jason then said he really felt an instant connection with Gabby. And then she leaves that conversation and then sees Gabby kissing Johnny. Like, it was just a double whammy for Rachel. And I felt really sorry for her. And then we watched her have her one-on-one where she sent Jordan V home. It was a rough episode for Rachel. And as the lead, you should be feeling prioritized and wanted by everyone who's there. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with it. And, Kaitlyn did have her own experience of having two leads, but that was just for that opening night. So she might have felt that way or felt the need to prove herself for a night, but this is going to be all season long.
Yeah, I definitely echo what you said, Allison, because it definitely seems like the men have so much more power than they have in any other season of The Bachelor, because they also get to decide, which has never been done before. And like you said, when you become the lead of The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, like, it's kind of a great place to be because you've got 30 people who want you. Like, what an amazing feeling, So then you go into that role and now you're having people tell you that they don't want you is a pretty crappy feeling for the PG version, So like there's a reason that I totally get like where Kaitlyn is coming from when she's like, this is just messed up.
Yeah, and it just kind of seems like maybe the producers didn't really think this one through. I mean, they have said that over and over and over again on the show. We don't know how this is going to work. We don't know what we're going to do. But at the end of the day, the point of The Bachelorette is to have The Bachelorette making the decisions. And like you guys have kind of said, the guys have, I don't want to say they've done it prematurely either, because we'll get to this in a second, but do you think it should only be the women's decision? Blakely, what's your thought on that?
I think that the men needed to go in knowing who they wanted. Because regardless, they would have gone on the show, right? From my understanding of how it works when you get chosen, you don't always know who's going to be the lead. There's a toss-up of a few different people of who's going to be the lead when you're getting chosen to go on to the show. And then you're told who it is, and then you're there for that person. So I think that when they heard there was two leads, instantly their mind was like, great, now I have a choice of who I want. I think that maybe they should have chosen before the show even started, who are you interested in and who are you vying for, and unfortunately that's who you're gonna have to stick with. Now obviously I'm sure there would be one or two people in there who would like mix it up and be like, oh, I want to switch because I'm interested in this person, but I think that it should have been outlined a little bit more for the men to begin with, because realistically, like, even though that sounds like maybe a little lame, well, they have to choose when they don't even know it, well, they only get one person on any other season, and they don't get to choose. It's just that person. They can either choose to go on or choose not to go on. So if anything, they'd be given an extra little leg up to get to choose who they want when typically that doesn't happen. So maybe that's how it should have gone.
Yeah. And on the other side of things, the men are also put in these uncomfortable situations of having to get to know two leads and then choose one of them. Like, what are they supposed to really do in that situation? So, Allison, do you think that it's better for the men to make up their minds early, like Blakely said, or should they get to know both women and explore their connections?
I feel like it's got to be early because it's also going to waste the lead's time. They've said it before. They have more men than they've ever had before. They're trying to film 2 bachelorettes. They're trying to have conversations with as many guys as they can, but it's still, they're still missing a third of the men on opening night that they didn't talk to. And so if it was more clear from the get-go, no, I feel like I have a connection with Rachel or I have a connection with Gabby or I'm interested in either or, that would save them time from having conversations and potentially wasting precious time talking to people who aren't there for them. We saw that again at the cocktail party with Jason. If he had some sort of sticker on him that said, I'm interested in Gabby, maybe Rachel would have picked someone else for the cocktail party or pulled someone else aside. I don't know if we could get, kind of like those parties in college. If you have this color cup, it means that you're there for Gabby. If you have this color, it means you're there for Rachel. Just make it all easier. So it's really transparent and we can stop wasting time.
Yeah. And I mean, we are already starting to get into little muddy waters, sticky situations when one guy is into both women. What do you do, in that situation? Do you think it's better for them to just be honest and upfront? Or do you think that they should have to make their mind? What if they end up regretting their decision? It just seems like a whole mess of things to have to deal with. I don't know, Blakely, if you had any opinions you wanted to share on that point.
I mean, at that point, sucks to suck. Like in real life, you wouldn't be getting to choose like this. You wouldn't be getting 2 amazing options. So if you make the wrong choice, well, sucks for you, bucko, you're out, like, like they're lucky they even get a choice. They're lucky they even have 2 leads. So figure it out. You don't get to pick and choose. And at that point, I suppose if he's going, if he's picking and choosing like that, it does give more power to Rachel and Gabby because they could get to decide, do I even want him? So maybe that's good to have people in the middle because it gives the power back to the women, but it also can take it away because then it's like, well, we both like him. How do we navigate those muddy waters?
Because there are men that already like, 2 of them at the same time. Allison, do you remember off the top of your head who those men are?
Yeah, this was what concerned me a little bit because, again, it was that, after party, cocktail party with those around 6 men. And Logan had a connection with both of them. He kissed both of them. He is striking up conversation, creating a connection with both of them. And I think he was kind of both of their front runners for that group date or after party rose. And then Rachel and Gabby had that conversation. Rachel was gushing to Gabby about how she was into Logan. And Gabby, I think, had an ITM or a voiceover saying, it's not worth me stepping on Rachel's toes at this point. So she ended up giving her rose to Johnny, which concerned me a little bit because I'm like, ladies, like you have to be transparent from the get-go. As hard as it is, I don't think it's going to help anyone if, Gabby doesn't pursue a connection because she's afraid it will upset Rachel. But then what if she harbors resentment or always wonders what would have been there? I just think we need to lay it all out on the table. And I think the guys need to be honest too. I think Logan, if he doesn't want to get the F-boy edit, what could benefit him is just being honest and transparent. I don't know who I'm here for. I would love to figure out a connection with each of you. Let me know when it's gone too far. Let me know when I need to decide on your behalf because I'm not here to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah,
I love that.
Allison, you should be a producer for The Bachelor. Take notes, Bachelor producers, if you're watching this. I want to talk to you about one more point before we wrap up here, because I just feel like at this point, ABC is kind of pulling out all of the stops to freshen up the season, make it new and different. We're seeing a bunch of different twists, every year. It seems like they're trying to one up, from the past season, really starting with the fence jump from Mr. Colton Underwood. Every season there's been a dramatic moment, but, this season with the 2 leads, we're seeing kind of a ripoff of Joe Millionaire. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it was the same exact premise. You had 2 guys in a house, and they were both dating all the same women. At some point, the women had to decide who they wanted. We're getting rumors about Bachelor in Paradise, where there is a bit of a Love Island Casa Amor twist. Do you think that they are just trying to grasp at straws to keep relevancy with the way that reality TV and dating shows in particular are, moving forward as of right now?
I mean, definitely, I can understand them trying to keep it new, trying to keep it fresh. The show has been around for such a long time, and it is kind of the most traditional dating show out there currently. I don't know. I mean, it's hard because we know through other Bachelor alums who talk to producers that this was a really last minute decision to have two Bachelorettes. They didn't go into this thinking it was going to be a two Bachelorette season. And I think it was a direct result of Clayton's season and how it ended. They couldn't just pick one. Both of these women were extremely slighted. They were both sent home in a very heartbreaking way. So they really just tried to pivot and pull this all together. And the crew said it was a nightmare to film. And then you throw in the cruise ship element. This is just so many variables we've never worked with before. And part of me is kind of annoyed. And maybe this goes along with Kaitlyn Bristowe's whole point. I'm kind of annoyed that it was a Bachelorette season that decided to have two leads. We've already had more Bachelors than we have Bachelorettes. And I feel like women are already underrepresented in the media in all of these shows. And I'm like, why did two women need to share the spotlight? Couldn't we have two men do it first and see how it worked?
I think that is a big part of Kaitlyn's point as well. It's just the women always get ripped off some way or the other. But I really don't think that The Bachelor is trying to, kind of copy these other formats. I think a big difference here, obviously, is cable versus streaming. We're seeing a lot of shows now. What was it? The Dancing with the Stars, I believe, is now moving to Disney Plus. They're going off of cable. And also, I know personally from working in cable television, I worked in news for the last 4 years, which obviously airs on cable. The pay is so much less than when it comes to a streaming service. So the things that The Bachelor has to do to compete with these other reality dating shows on actual streaming service platforms is so much more because they do have a lot less to work with. Granted, they still have a lot of money. It's ABC. It brings in so many ratings, but we also know that this premiere this season has had some of the lowest ratings. I think a lot of that is because so many people are moving away from cable television and moving into streaming services. So I think that there's a big impact there, and The Bachelor is going to have to figure out how to adapt because, like the both of you said, you use the word traditional to describe The Bachelor, and we are not a traditional generation any longer. And the generations that are growing up are not traditional generations. We are much more modernized and so they need to find a way to continue to kind of keep up with those trends, and I don't know exactly what that looks like for The Bachelor. Someone creative is gonna need to get in there and figure it out for them. But I also think that The Bachelor is such a staple. There's no way, at least anytime soon, that we're gonna see it go away. I think it just has to figure out its route and navigate how to continue to be relevant. And I think the biggest part, and I know that I've talked about this in panels before, I think what the biggest part The Bachelor has to do is actually listen to its audience and listen to its viewers. I can't stress enough, how many times do we say, what is it? Is it during when the ladies tell all, when they do the bloopers? And how many times do you see people tweeting, I wish we would have seen this. I wish we would have seen that. They should be showing this. Show us those raw, funny, real moments. Maybe that's what The Bachelor is missing, is those real moments that actually make it so we can connect. That's what they need. I've got it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And even in, the past couple of seasons, I feel like they've really watered down the leads. Specifically, my mind goes to Matt James' season. We saw him on social media as this funny, fun-loving, dancing TikToker, doing all these funny things. And then his season was so serious. Even before all of the scandals, we saw none of his personality until, the credits were rolling and then he was dancing when he was doing a one-on-one. But I do think that we are seeing more of both Gabby and Rachel's personalities, which I am really happy. I feel like we are starting to get connected to them very early. So time will tell where the Bachelor franchise will go now, but let us know in the comments what you all think. Do you think that Kaitlyn is right and they should have never done two Bachelorettes? Do you think that the Bachelor franchise is maybe ripping some other reality TV shows off? Any opinions? We love to hear from you. And make sure before you go, you subscribe to our channel, ring the bell so you don't miss out on any Bachelor Nation updates. You can also come say hi to myself, Allison, or Blakely on our social media pages. Our handles are on the screen now. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye.